and tech, makeup, and costuming. So I guess let's start with our origins. David and I started, you guys have been here like last year too, right? Most of you have, but whatever, just bear with me. Maybe you forgot.
I have, Lord knows I've read this a few times.
David, John, and I, and Erin Burke, we all, I don't know why she gets a last name, but most people are probably more unfamiliar with her. We all started this pantomime troupe because we were all in the same acting and mime classes. And we worked together doing stuff for the school and stuff for like touring children's shows, different programs that the college was putting on. Just to build our skills and, get work. And as a college student, you just really want to be in productions because it's a good feeling and you want to stretch yourself. So we did that. Then we formed our own improv troupe and we would tour little summer camps or so kids aren't bored, and we'd be hired as weird characters to kind of teach kids some stuff. So we were like pirates one time, and then we were cowboys. The cowboys were less popular, but
that was a stretch. They were like, we need you to talk about animals, and we're like, what can you do? Like, we have cowboy costumes, we can talk about horses. I don't know.
David, actually, you refabricated a song about a horse.
Where horses came from.
You were like, that's where the horse came from.
And then I realized that it was a little too in-depth for children. It talks about how the horse was in the North American continents, there before, and then it went extinct, and then was brought
That was actually an embarrassing day. Things were just going on. The kids were brutal. They were like saying, "You're not really cowboys." And you were like, I don't even know. It's just
they liked the mime thing where we made them have to rope cattle and stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. They loved the pantomime stuff.
So kids like the hands-on when they get to be part of the show. That's what they had fun with.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to mess with kids and try to keep the illusion going. Like I know as pirates, we were like coming up with these time portals and vortexes, and they were just saying, nuh-uh, I'm like, yeah, sorry.
Well, we got to go to their auditorium, and we're like making them imagine a giant pirate ship that was invisible.
It was, sounds
like a nightmare. I'm glad I missed out on that stuff.
We were younger and more spry back then, and we were willing to do anything.
But what it taught us was improv. It taught us to get out of our comfort zone. Live in that moment of, oh gosh, what am I going to do? Oh gosh, what am I going to do? And
kids are pretty terrible critics of their work.
Oh my gosh. We actually got less critique in Balboa Park. In fact, the only one that I remember is a couple of scene kids, like little girls, came up and say, "You guys suck," right in the middle of our show during the time. That was like the worst thing that we ever got.
But even then, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was like...
for the most part, we were pretty intimidating, even, just out in public, dressed as robots.
We didn't get heckled a lot. We did the heckling. If anyone started something, we'd call them out, because when you look at, the robots on the street, if you can imagine, like, someone passing by was like, oh, they probably can't talk, but
we mimes or something, yeah.
Yeah, but then we started calling them out and...
Not that we were mean, but it's like, most people don't like to be involved in a show.
Yeah.
But we were there, just on all the time, so.
So that really taught us a lot. I mean, mine is pretty difficult, I suppose. And even some days when my body's not ready, like today, it's very hard to get it to do it. I mean...
Don't worry, she'll break it out just for you today.
It's hard. I'm not in my best form this weekend, but...
Make David do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of muscle memory. It's just like doing any sort of physical activity, like dance or sports ball. You just gotta keep...
Sports ball?
Training the muscles and...
I love playing balls.
Mine actually are using a lot of muscles that you just don't use, ever. And so the pain is just really painful, and it's really hard on the body. I'm really sorry for
I think that's probably the first place we should start with how to be a robot is the movement.
Sure.
Because you don't need costume and makeup to get the robot thing down. That you can look like a robot without any of those things.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's probably more impressive, I guess. Because you just look like a human being. Well, I don't know if I look like a human being, but I look like some semblance of a person. Okay, let's see. Just, you gotta stretch. Oh, my neck. Just stretch it out. Do all your stretches.
So what they teach you first in mime classes, body inventory. Most of the time, unless you take some type of dance class, ballet or something, or I guess any kind of dance, you won't be aware of every inch of your body and where it is in space around you. I know it sounds weird, but you start by isolating every individual part of your body. So fingers, hands, arms, all that. And they have run through a bunch of different exercises just to get you to kind of isolate everything and eventually become aware of how to control everything. And then you're not suddenly thinking about where everything is, it just kind of happens.
It's like, it's actually kind of where the popping and locking comes from. Is you start by isolating, just do one movement, one body part, just change it and keep doing it over and over again. And I mean, that's kind of robotic in itself. I still do stuff like that or this and just little hand movements to be kind of subtle. But I mean, it's just about like posing. Like most of the force right now is on my, what body part is this?
Elbow.
This thing? Elbow. I mean, and everything else is kind of loose, and it's mostly just, it's just like an explosion right there, and it stops suddenly, and then, you just kind of relax everything. I mean, I'm stiff, but it's not like, I'm not putting much strain on anything. I'm really just holding it there and recognizing that my body can keep it. I mean, it's really, you could come up and like hit my arm and just fly back.
Yeah, the first thing that most people have to learn is to not just be completely tense the entire time, because that's what you naturally want to do to keep everything together, but that's why body inventory is important, because it's just you knowing where it is in space, and then you can kind of keep it still just by being relaxed, rather than, having all this tension, and that you'll just be exhausted after a few minutes of that. But if you're all loose and stuff, you can do it all day, like we used to do at Balboa Park. And the only thing that would tire us out would be singing, rather than the robot.
Might also be helpful to not have the ability to get embarrassed, because if Bunny got embarrassed easily, then she probably wouldn't be...
Yeah, that's easy.
I'm embarrassed.
When we took a mime class, they definitely, any theater class, they have that whole, trying to get everyone comfortable just so you can start playing around rather than being so subconscious.
Anybody want to try? Anybody want to give it a shot?
We're using an easy one that we can do with everyone, is literally just your head. You can just, move back and forth, not too quickly, not with too much tension. And you can kind of just do that. You just kind of know when you can not apply too much tension, but it's all about those explosions. Like, the stopping is where it is. You can actually be fluid all the way up until you stop, and then that's what gives the illusion of the robot.
Yeah, it's the stopping is more important. Like, you can keep it going and it'll kind of look good, but it's the stopping that really sells it. And honestly, we do that a lot, where we're holding a pose, and you won't see us move that much. We gotta conserve energy for 2 hours. If we're constantly moving, it's just exhausting. So a lot of it's faking it. And obviously, we go a little fluid on stage. Like, you'll see, like, some songs we choose to just drop the robot entirely. We asked our professor, or was he a professor? He's not a professor. He's our mentor, my mentor.
Well, he's a teacher, but yeah, I don't know if he has a PhD or a doctorate or what his qualifications
are. He doesn't have any of that, but just like us. But he's but we asked him like a few years into the act, like, what do you do? Like, how can we keep up the robot and do all this? And he's like, well, you don't. No one would expect you to. So he's like, he gave us this idea, which we haven't really used, but sometimes we do it. We just don't call attention to it. He said, reprogram yourself on stage into something different. And like the Western bit, we're not entirely robotic there. There's a couple robot bits. If you know the one I'm talking about, it's where we get into a barroom fight. It's right before AH usually. So that one's
electronic harmonics.
Yes, and that one's really great. It's a good example of that. For a moment, we drop the robot completely, and no one cares.
It's more important that every once in a while, if we're going to be fluid, that we stop and do something robotic, because then it kind of fills in the gaps. Like, we can be fluid for a few seconds. Actual animatronics look pretty realistic. It's those really old ones from, Halloween rides or something that look kind of fake. But if you look, even Disney's animatronics from the 60s looked pretty convincing. So yeah, we're basically just trying to emulate a haunted house attraction.
Oh, this is Abraham Lincoln. I love this guy.
I don't know, Abraham Lincoln was so... Abraham Lincoln was pretty convincing. Okay, so that's
John Wilkes Booth.
That's pretty much the movement stuff. The key thing that I think that most people, the biggest mistake I think some people have is trying to do too much when they're first starting out. So the less you can do, the better. It'll read more like a robot than trying to do a bunch of stuff and trying to keep it all looking robotic. So, you know, just one arm is still more impressive than, you know, moving all around and trying to replicate that.
You can eventually do that once you get into your muscle memory. I mean, a lot of, I think David does it too a lot. My easiest movement that I don't have to think about is the torso. And how it just, I imagine that it's on this kind of like pivot, and you'll see like during the whole show, I mean, I'm constantly going back and forth, doing really subtle movements, and it's all just like, you know, right up here. So I'm keeping this really tight, you know, like as if you were doing crunches, just so I'm not like hurting my back. But I mean, it's pretty easy, and it's so ingrained in me that I'll do it all the time. To the point it's kind of a tick now. It just kind of happens. I'm not even thinking about it.
And all of us on stage, between Bunny, Sam, and I, we all kind of have our own different things that we're comfortable with, and that, and in turn, that kind of makes our robots unique. Like I know I do a lot of, I guess, wobbling back and forth on my ankles and feet, so the spine's always kind of in motion, and I never really stand still. I guess that's when I look at videos anyway. That's what it looks like.
I feel like I do a lot of leg stuff. Like I like kicking and standing on one leg. That's good too.
We make use of that in the show.
So, and that's just what I do naturally because my hands are always busy with something.
But yeah, we basically we use what our bodies are capable of. You know, everyone's different in different capacity to what to do. Like I have back problems, so I'm not going to be bending over this way. I'll do pretty much everything at the knees or above my waist, but nothing that's going to hurt my back. So that goes with anyone, you know, not everyone is going to have the same range of motion. So that's not a hindrance though, that's just going to be your spin on the robot.
Yeah, I mean, for me it's like, Rabbit's kind of, I think she's just more, I want to malfunction. So if it's like a stutter, if it's kind of like, just, you know, wigging out here and there, it all works for me, but I just try to make it look a lot less, more fluid. A lot more stops, a lot more, you know, breaking down. So she's the malfunctioning one. So there's a lot of stuttering in the voice, which is another thing.
Vocal.
We think of pantomime and we think there's no room for talking. That what we did is like revolutionary. But pantomime came about in a very weird way. It was actually because Commedia dell'arte, where pantomime has its roots, the performers were basically. They were giving like they were dishing out political commentary to the current rulers and stuff. Well, some of those rulers didn't like that much, so they banned them from talking, and they still got away with it. Pantomime is the reason. So yeah, it's actually, you know, mimes were silenced, and they were forced to not talk. And you know, years later they kept the tradition because they discovered, hey, there's more power in not saying anything. So we actually lost our voices by training in mime, because that's where you start. They take that away from you. They even take away your face. They take away, you have to wear a mask in the beginning of the class, and you have to try to show that you're happy.
I mean, you can take it off. It wasn't like.
I mean, yeah, but it gets you to start thinking about it. So we had all this training, and then suddenly we're left with all these tools, and now we can do whatever we want. And choosing to speak was kind of, I don't know, a revolution. It's like, when the robots can talk, it becomes just ridiculous. It's almost like, wait, you're mimes, you're not supposed to talk, and there's humor in that. But then it just becomes like, well, if you're a little kid, you're pretending to be a dinosaur or a robot, you talk and you don't think it feels silly. So we just said, well, I sound like a robot, so what does a robot sound like? It's like beep, bop, boop, right? So, I mean, that's when we created the steam and stuff, you know, the hydraulic movements and you know, mechanical sounds. And we each have our own little flourishes we put on all of the movements. So mine's a lot of... And David's is a lot
more like servo sounds. Like stuff that would sound like it's electronic.
Yeah. And mine's like...
I mean, that's just a few like examples of. I mean, it's funny because Sam's in particular is funny because it's not much. I mean, anyone can do that, but it's surprisingly
Anyone can do
that. When you call for your mama, you want that milk.
I mean, it's so silly, and still to this day, people think that we have like some sort of device or like
Steve's piping in sound effects or something. I mean, he does, but not for the robots. Like for other things. But yeah, we do all of our own. sound effects.
I don't actually stutter too much except for just right then. But on stage, because usually I'm delivering like lines I already know, I don't stutter too often, so I have to force it. So every like 5 minutes I'm always, oh yeah, I have to stutter. Sometimes I'll go like 30 minutes without stuttering, I'll be like, damn it.
I'm naturally gifted with stuttering, so it's all natural.
I know someone came up to Bunny one time and was like, it's so great that you worked your stuttering into the act.
Which is actually great if you do have a speech impediment. Like,
Well, that's true, yeah.
I mean, a robot is the perfect excuse, right?
Well, also it goes back to clowning. You have to learn clown when you're taking like a mime class or something. And with clowning, it's basically accentuating the features that you hate about yourself. So if you have a big nose, you just run with it, because the minute you start making fun of what you're naturally given, that's just it's kind of freeing in a way. And then suddenly it's like, well, no one can touch you then, because you were already like putting it out there. Not that that's what every clown or thing should be. Is like, you know, if you got a big forehead, your clown can't just be about a forehead, I guess. I mean, it could. It's just to say that, you know, you're putting all your flaws out to display. And so we kind of do that with the robots. I mean, not every flaw is a flaw, you know. I mean, I'm tall, Bunny's tall, Sam's
average
mustache. I don't know.
Compensate for my lack of height.
Once again, it's like playing your strengths. It's like, you know, I have a very big frontalis muscle. I can't help it, you know. So, I mean, I express a lot, you know. I forehead act a lot. And that works really well when you're a live-action cartoon character. And, you know, your face has a bunch of makeup, so the expressions actually give you power on stage. You're tiny, but you have these big expressions.
Yeah.
The makeup helps with that. It's based on like mime. That's why mime makeup is so stark and there's heavy contrast. That every feature is accented in like black and whatnot against white, so therefore you can see everything moving. And the robot makeup is kind of like that, especially the spine. You guys have a lot more detail around it, but it still gives the same illusion.
Yeah, I mean it's actually just you're replacing all the white with metallic silver. But I mean that's what mime face paint is supposed to do. It's supposed to kind of just make your eyes and your mouth and your eyebrows look very accentuated, so it can read from far away. But like Hatcher's makeup, it's a little more complicated. But it's still kind of you do highlight like certain features.
Well, mine is really dark, so it just makes my eyes and teeth look nice and clean.
And mustache.
My mustache looks clean too. So it's an amalgam of features almost. So I don't know. I like just opening and staring at people.
It's pretty creepy in that way.
Yeah.
I used to have a darker face with the copper. I switched to white. We don't know why, but it's pretty effective. I mean, it's...
None of us know why Bunny did it.
like a word, I guess. I'm not a big fan of orange.
You don't like orange?
I never wanted to be copper. I wanted to be like silver.
When we were picking makeup out, like when our first like time out doing Balboa Park like 7 years ago, when we were like picking makeups, I'm like, I want silver. And that's pretty much what because when I thought robot, everyone thinks
Could have
silver.
been silver too. There's no.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, I think Upgrade was
Still be
like a
silver if you
blue,
want.
and John was gray, and yeah, we just had different makeups, and eventually.
I didn't want to be bronze, but I actually really like it now. I don't give a. Yeah, I've learned to like it a lot. So.
You kind of worked in a lot of gold into your...
Well, I'm just trying to make it look so that it's shinier than it is with the gold. But yeah, I do work in a lot of gold.
It looks great.
Plus, yeah, having the variety is good because I mean, eventually we just fell into different looks, anyways, even without using different colors. So
Yeah.
it looks good.
And you can do
on stage.
You can do almost anything. I mean, if you're not in it to accentuate your features.
Just lines would work.
Yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't even need silver. You just have the big black lines, and you're a cyborg or whatever, or doll.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, when we all started, we didn't have much detail on our faces. We were all kind of just doing mime makeup with metallics. And I know the spine stayed that way for quite a while. Then I started shading, and then when Sam came in, I was like, well, there's way too many lines now. Because John still only had like a little bit of mime makeup with his robot stuff, and then so it's like, okay, now I'm going to start adding lines.
What a nightmare I created.
Whatever, it looks good now. It looks
know.
more
It's not
detailed.
bad.
And
I think in 2012 when we actually got our first custom-made costumes, I think that kind of upped the game, and it's like eventually the makeup was to follow. It's just like costumes still to this day look really nice and tailored. I mean,
But we were still getting work and stuff, even with our crappy, you know, whatever costumes we had at home. Like, we looked like garbage for many a year. And people still came and watched our show in Bobo Park, and we made tens of dollars.
Breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I mean, we've done this act without any makeup on before, and I bet it's even more impressive. Seeing a normal person turn into a robot is pretty awesome.
Yeah, we did the act a few times at like open mics just to kind of promote some of our stage shows, and they'd be, we would just do them as humans in our regular street clothes, and it was still impressive. But we already had the act down at that point, so, you know, it just goes to show that I think the makeup and costume is the last part of it. Unless you're doing a cosplay, because then it's like, okay, that's kind of shows that you're a robot immediately. But as far as performing and stuff, it's not necessary.
Well, there's a lot of elements to being a bot, and if you lack in one, you can overcompensate in another, you know, or vice versa. I mean, I definitely don't have the mime stuff down, so I just kind of, but I don't mind doing embarrassing things, and I try to be really goofy to maybe distract from it, and then just the makeup and everything. Everything is basically counterbalancing something else, you know. We just have all our bases covered. It's hard to kind of pick it apart because we've got the music and whatever. So, I mean, if you have something that you're not comfortable with, you can do something else that you're good at and just bring out, and that'll make it more individual, you know. Your bot can be really detailed, really ornate, and you'll be, you know, the Chinaware bot or whatever. And that's your thing now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, costuming is also pretty cool. I mean, especially fan bots that I've seen. Sometimes the costuming is much better than what we do, just because we have to consider range of motion and, you know, being comfortable. We have all this gear strapped on us. But some of the cosplays we've seen, like giant robot arms and stuff, that's amazing. I mean, totally, like, we've tried to work our newest costumes to be a little more robotic with like segments and stuff you'll see, but it all comes down to, for us, like, can we move, can we be flexible, and the answer is usually yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, even our first costumes, I mean, they were tailor-made, but they were still kind of restrictive, and we kind of learned that after about like 2 years at the San Diego Zoo, when we were first using them, and then we're like, okay, this has got to change.
I had pants up to here, and it's like bending over was just impossible.
I had like almost a corset-like vest. It was just so,
Yeah, it was tight.
I could barely breathe.
Well, I can't keep a shape. Like, sometimes I gain a little weight, sometimes lose a little weight. So I got spandex, like, stretchy material inside, so I can grow and shrink if I want to, you know?
Plus it helps when you're taking a deep breath, you know, you want the chest to be able to expand so your lungs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that covers pretty much
We should
that
teach
stuff.
them one little mind thing before I sit down. So I'm going to teach you how to drink a glass of water. It's the easiest trick in the book, besides this, but you don't need to learn that.
But, Bunny, don't you need a glass to drink a glass of water?
Why no, Sam? You actually don't.
Don't you need water to have in a water glass?
You think so, but you've been mistaken. Really? See, I don't stutter at all. So yeah, I mean, for me, like, it's all about visualizing, and I think that's a good. When you're a kid, you see the item that you're picking up. It might look like this, you know, this is your cup, and it changes shape and size, but in your head, it's totally there. You're drinking that Dr. Pepper. You're drinking that antidote because you're a super spy. So, what you got to do now is just apply your adult mind to it. You have the skills, the motor skills, to actually do something that looks pretty impressive. So I like taking items out from behind my back just because it looks funny. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to do it anyways because it's a habit. So basically, just like when you pick up a can, you know, it doesn't. I mean, you could do it this way, but you're crushing the can. I mean, technically, this is correct. This is actually, they teach you in mime, don't pick up the object, your hand becomes the object. When you pick up a phone in pantomime, this is not as effective as this. No one holds a phone like this, but it looks like a phone.
Okay, I did that last night, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Not very well, but...
I mean, you can pick up a gun like this, but it's much more effective. For glass, it's impressive to see that your hand's creating the shape. And it is becoming the glass, which is what they teach you. So you pick it up, you drink, and then you set it down. It's a simple motion, which hopefully I didn't mess up, but you got to see the plane in front of you. You got to see the table, and you got to see where the glass is, and you got to pick it up and you put it right back down where you actually initially picked it up from, which is really hard. But it's a combination of visualizing it and also recognizing what your hand was doing. An easy way to do this is, do it at a right angle. If you hit that right angle, there's where the glass sits, and then you can put it right back down at a right angle. It looks like it.
I mean, most tables aren't as tall as 6 foot.
But you can have a little room. It can change a little bit. No one's gonna really see it. And when I talk about explosions, there's an explosion of energy when my hand turns into the cup. It's very rigid. It's an explosion, and then it rests, and that's all it takes. And when you put it down, it's very important that you actually don't do this, which would be bad. You do that, and then you just take it away. I did it right. Damn it! Hold on a sec. You pick it up, and then you take it away. It's like it's supposed to be there, and it's still in your hand because you didn't.
Let go.
Release it. Yeah. So make sure that the explosion of energy also happens when you take it.
So basically, it's precision at every step of the motion. So
right.
they break down like every part too. I remember a few mime exercises that we did that was literally just memorizing each step, and it was memorizing it to his what he set up. So rather than us go and create stuff, we were running through like a set of rules, and he would grade us on each one just to make sure that we knew every motion and we replicated it precisely.
I mean, and it applies to this. It's the same idea. I mean, it's the whole box thing. It's like you're in the box, and what else is it? It's
ladder. Do a ladder.
I can't do ladder. Ladder's hard. I can do the Captain Albert Alexander, which is a bunch of cups. I've been doing this for years, so it's like I see the wheel, and it's not perfect, but I mean, it looks pretty impressive.
Are you dancing with an octopus or something?
Yeah, so I mean.
But see, in that you can feel that it's actually attached to a ship, and there's like ropes of touching.
How do they do the ladder? I always did it wrong. It's like grab it and then you pop your like that.
Well, they taught it he taught it wrong, and I was like, wait, that doesn't look like a ladder. But this.
And then you can grab it from the side if you want, I guess.
Yeah, because then it makes it more interesting as you're climbing up.
I mean, that kind of looks like a ladder, but it's all the same. You just apply it to all your body parts.
Nice.
Anyways, so we don't climb too many ladders as robots.
What's that?
We don't climb too many ladders as robots.
But you know what? What's interesting is that for all the costuming and smoke effects and makeup, a lot of our act is kind of making you deal with imaginary objects. I don't know. I mean, the automatonic electronic harmonics scene. None of that stuff that we're dealing with exists. There's no cup. There's no bar. There's no doors. It's like we're becoming the doors. We're becoming the bar, which is pretty cool. I mean, we had a lot more bits in Balboa Park where it was just dealing with objects that don't exist. I think
we didn't have cool fog machines and lighting effects and stuff back then. So we had a lot more bits that were vaudeville-ish. So we could, because we had to be out in the middle of broad daylight, and there was no Steve Negretti helping us look cool and sound cool. Speaking of Steve Negretti making us look and sound cool, now we come to the part of the panel where you get to learn how you can have your Steve Negretti make your robot cooler. How do you make us robots, Steve?
Really, it's the equipment doing all the work there. I just, manipulate the equipment.
Is that what you call your body?
Functions. What is the question?
So, what do you do, Steve?
And I perked up.
It's like high school all over again.
So you do stuff
Napoleon
for us.
Bonaparte in the kitchen with the candlestick.
A was a scarlet letter.
Let's talk about the equipment that you use for the act.
Oh boy. Okay, so if you want to be a robot, you have to get really expensive equipment so that you sound good. And the equipment we use, first and foremost, you have to be able to hear them speaking. So we use, what are they? It's been so long since I've actually looked at them.
They're
Crown 311A.
Yeah.
Crown 311A headset mics, which are, the ones that have been used in entertainment industry for years and years and years. They're originally designed for who? Garth Brooks?
Garth Brooks, yeah.
Garth Brooks.
Justin Biebs uses them too.
Because he kept running around the stage.
They're like 20-year-old microphones. They haven't updated them at all.
That's because the technology works, yo.
They could have redesigned the
They could look more modern and streamlined and actually, you know,
They're
fit.
pretty uncomfortable, but
But
Garth
it's been the
Brooks made them
industry standard
himself.
forever and a day. Michael Jackson used them, Britney Spears used them, Justin Bieber used them.
every single pop star ever, country singer, everyone uses them if you're going to use a headset.
So we've got 4 of those, 3 for the robots and 1 backup in case one malfunctions. Going from there, we use Sennheiser wireless technology. Sennheiser is one of the leading companies of microphones and wireless technology. We've got a whole stage rack backstage that drives the vocals for the robots and all the wireless instruments on stage, as well as their in-ear monitors. Each of these performers have three Beltpacks strapped onto them for audio purposes. One is the 9-volt battery pack for their microphones, so that their microphones actually get power. The next is their actual microphone transmitter, because after the 9-volt battery pack, the mic has to go into the actual transmitter, which sends to the wireless rack. And then they also have their IEM unit, which takes audio and gives it back to them so they can hear what's going on. They don't hear anything, they hear a completely different show than y'all hear in the audience, because they have to hear specific things and levels that are higher or lower to harmonize and play their instruments effectively. After that, all the wireless gets sent down the pipeline to my console of choice, the Digico series console. I own an SD9, Digico SD9 mixing desk, which I got because I used one of them in my day job at the La Jolla Playhouse Theater in California, and I really, really liked it, and I was taking a look at it and saying, oh yeah, if we expanded the act, this would be a really neat board to have, and it's black and red, so it fits the color scheme.
People are looking back there.
People
when
are
the
definitely
show's
looking.
going.
That's you have to
Just in
present.
case.
So everything gets fed into the console, which is
And that's when the equipment comes in.
48 ins, or 48 faders. All the backing tracks. Wait, the backing tracks aren't part of the robot, so. But I'm just rambling. You can stop me because I'll just go on for days.
We also have in our belt packs. We have our micro fog machines, which
nobody cares about them.
which is probably the most expensive and the most temperamental unit things we have in the show.
Well, they're prototypes.
Yeah, basically. I don't know anyone else who's using them like we do, but
Well, you had
Steve-
Gabby fabricate their cases.
Yeah. Steve's controlling all of our fog machines with the small little remote control. It's amazing that it makes the range all the way up to the stage. Most of the time, some shows they break, but
Yeah.
they're usually fixed every other show.
couple of
Usually,
shows.
if we drop one, they break.
Yeah, that's happened.
I've
a few
noticed.
times. I'll point any fingers, but I will point them some thumbs.
Yeah, the tech's pretty expensive, and it's been an investment over the course of going on 8 years.
We added fog like really late in the game. That's probably the last thing we added.
Yeah.
We also have packs on us for our lights. Really subtle. I have ones on my back, but he has. Oh, actually, your battery pack fits in your.
Yeah, and the boobs.
And then Sam's fits on your back too. So
Yeah.
it gets pretty heavy. And I used to have like an extra pack. I used to have a digital signal processor because I was anal about getting the sound the right frequencies. And now they have better technology that I don't need a digital signal processing.
There's a lot of, also we have, one of the newest features, we have projections, which has really enhanced our show. Not only do we get the beautiful, clips and stuff made by Steve Negretti in the background, we also...
stock footage just thrown up there for something, okay. Oh, continue.
Yeah, which is cool. And then we also get like the interactive projection characters like Bebop and QWERTY, which are, I know those jokes, they're just fan favorites.
Well, it's a start. We're trying to integrate them more into the show and integrate more of the SPG characters. And this is the first time we're still using the same initial idea. We want to try more and more integration and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, the idea is that we're making the act like if it was a Vegas show, what would be cool to add to it? Because before it was Interact, we rarely made use of projections at all, really, only if they had it. And now it's actually written into our tech writers that we have to have it for the show. And it adds that much more. It's all about immersion at this point for us.
Yeah, and now, it wasn't too long ago where we didn't know if we would have the projections. But now that we've got a whole year with them, we're actually going to make a show that's built around projections, I guess. I mean,
We're gonna be on stage like a quarter of the time.
And the time that we're on stage, we're sitting in lawn chairs and we're just pressing play on this.
Right.
This times that we live in.
Well, it's great. Like one of the things is I really like when Gigi comes out, but it does take a lot of work to bring her out on stage and put her back. And once she's out, it's like it takes a long time. It's like
I don't know if you noticed, but Hatchworth and Spine were just killing some time for a while.
I was having trouble backstage. Her wires, I couldn't find one of her wires, and I had to dig it out. It usually goes a little faster, but what's great is that with the use of projection, she can appear as a projection, and
Like brass goggles.
Yeah. Since we can't afford to have a puppeteer, come in and do her and build like some sort of box that she could live in on stage.
It would be nice if we told them like it's a live feed from backstage.
Right.
She's playing piano.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you.
That's kind of the idea. Yeah. So we. I guess. Yeah, puppetry is one of the new things in the show.
And ballet. We've been adding more and more crap to the show because if you don't like one of the things of our show, maybe you'll like this other thing.
Pretty soon we're gonna train Carlisle to do an act on stage where he like rides a ball.
Yeah.
with us.
Sam's Chihuahua.
That'd be pretty cool.
Sam has a Chihuahua.
It's true.
When he's like 14,
12.
So he's like 12. So when he gets up there and he finally goes to the big fire hydrant in the sky, we're gonna stuff him and have him be a puppet.
Stuff them just.
So Gigi's really heavy. Like extremely heavy.
She's not Muppet weight at all.
And she's made out of foam, and she takes a lot of damage through shipping, but we repair her and spruce her up.
There's an Instagram photo of me having to cut open her butt.
Yeah.
You can see that. Yeah.
Well, you are pretty anal.
We might have to have her sent in for repairs in the next year or so, but so she has like an eye mechanism which constantly breaks. It's been a little better since we've gotten the hang of it, but you touch her eyes, it gets off the track, and then she just kind of winks. It's really hard. I mean, you gotta go like this, and that takes a lot of pressure, and you gotta open this giant mouth. So on stage, I'm kind of just flapping. I have to think a little bit of ahead, because when I open it, I get like maybe 2 flaps in with one. So I have to estimate how much movement to get the amount of words. And last night my hand was not doing too well. I have to wear a wrist brace because it's so much pressure on the arm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's a little lip syncing with a puppet is a skill in its own, but then Gigi is just another ball game altogether.
yeah, and it's getting easier over the years, but I mean the song is just all over the place, and she's a massive puppet. I don't know.
Your right arm's gonna be huge.
Yeah.
You're gonna be swimming in circles.
Maybe. but it works. It's one moment in the show, and it's fun.
I think the most difficult part is when we're trying to do her on a green screen and you have to hold her out like this.
Yeah,
Your arm just.
Oh my gosh.
But if you have it in front of you, it's a little easier. But out here,
We have the whole green screen outfit. That's why we bought it. It's just so we could hold Gigi in front of us. But
Yeah, that's usually how I do it. But
But
I had for this other music video, you had it at your house, and I was like, dang it, and I gotta film
we used
it.
to have to do this.
So I went like this.
Hard.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. And then you have to like duck out of frame.
So on one of the next music videos, when you see Gigi, it's me, and that's why it doesn't look very good. Because I'm like, this is okay.
Yeah. So she's great. I'm happy that her popularity is. She's our.
You know who really likes Gigi? Kids.
Kids love Gigi.
Oh man,
Yeah.
there's this
Yeah.
one story of the one, I don't know, I mean I thought it was funny at first, but this one kid came up to us. He was probably older, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there. I don't know. And he said, oh, the song I liked the most was Gigi. It really spoke to me. It made me tear up. And at first I thought it was funny, haha, and then I'm like, oh. Actually, that makes complete sense. I mean, because Gigi, even though it's a funny song, obviously Gigi wants to be loved. There's like hidden meaning in it that most people are like, oh, it's just this crazy cartoon of a character of a giraffe that is selfish and stuff, but it's actually like,
She's an interesting character. She's in the comic a lot, believe it or not, when we actually work on it. So she's a very central figure in that. So yeah, I like our little sidekick characters like Qwerty and Bebop and Gigi. Like
Qwerty and Bebop are all Steve Negretti,
Yeah.
except when David has to
Except
animate
for
them.
like 3/4 of them.
I mean, Bebop is a puppet.
David does all the animation and video stuff. I just do the voices.
Animate. We actually, well, Bebop's like a live thing,
Yeah.
but we want to make him not, because every time we have to record something new, it's like, it's.
We want to make him CG, and we probably have the technology to do that. It's just a lot of.
We want to make us CG, so then we just take a video to conventions and.
Well, he's supposed to be CG. That was his whole thing, but we just it was kind of crappy. I mean, it looks great. I mean,
People will applaud our use of practical effects, just like they will in new Star Wars, right?
Yes, yes.
I think most people think that it's computer animated anyway.
Yeah,
So.
they do. They're like, oh, how'd you render that? I'm like, well, we didn't. It's just a puppet.
So if you like annoying robot sidekicks, don't worry. We're also consider adding a few more. So.
So yeah, I guess that's the active in a nutshell. Maybe we should start some questions.
Yeah. Oh wait. Well, let's do our let's play our song and then we can go into.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll play a song. I guess we can't really take a vote because everyone would want to hear everything anyway.
I don't care.